it's 14, 15, 16, 17.
Okay, good morning everybody.
Adults.
So yeah, it is challenging because you now basically have to undo their bad habits, their bad thoughts, their everything, and reteach them. So they need to relearn from scratch these concepts, how to build their self-awareness, their self-esteem. So it's difficult. But if you don't do it now, it's going to be even more difficult when they're adults. And if you can get them now, they can still have positive influences on everyone else around them. So they need to understand it starts with them. They can make a change. Change is possible and it's never too late. So you need to encourage them and help them to understand why this is important and the role that they can play in society and in making better choices for themselves, for their lives, for their families, for their community. So yeah, you need to, it's difficult, but you know, now you at least have a chance to see what works, what doesn't work, how you need to change things, how you need to adapt. Like going into nature is a good idea because it's taking them out of that negative environment and creating a different space where they can be more susceptible and open-minded to what you have to say. So that is a good idea. Again, you need to just try different things because you are the pilot project. So once you actually start rolling it out into the communities across Cape Town, you already know what works, what doesn't, what type of mindset certain communities have. Like, I mean, yours is completely different to ours. Their mindset is different. They might be more acceptable because they see the worth, whereas they just feel dejected and that's just life. And you know, it also kind of shows how the age groups accept things differently. Whereas your group is a younger group, so they're more acceptable to what you are saying. Whereas your group is older, so they're more set in their ways and their thinking.
They just want to write. They're like they're at school. I'm like, those kids.
Yeah, exactly. So
let's write the notes to them. Like, okay. I have to give the homework every day because they want to write. They believe in writing.
Okay. But the workshop itself is important. They need to experience the change in thought. It's not just writing, they need to learn, they must put it into practice because when you are putting it into practice, that's what makes you think. That's what it
stays in.
And it stays in because now they are reliving or doing real life situations and enacting it. So yeah, you also need to see, okay, how can I keep them away from just writing and what must I do to make them experience it more, you know? So it's like, and take it at your own pace.
That is what I do that.
Yeah.
Doing it in my own pace because so that I can understand the concept.
Yes, because that's what's important. Rushing through the material is not important. Yes, these timelines are there to give you guides as to how it needs to be managed.
But the rushing is not going to help.
It's not. If you only even get through half an activity or just one section, one group work or one something, as long as
they understand.
As long as they understand what they did for the day, that's what's important. Because they need to change. And so you need to take time and see how quickly they learn, how quickly they're not learning. Drill it into them and keep on giving positive affirmations and talks and words and boosting them because their mindsets need to change. So you are playing a big role in their lives right now, whether you or they realize it or not. You are playing. And so it's also important for you as the facilitator to take in what you are learning. Because as I'm giving these workshops, I'm learning a lot as well about myself, about positive thinking, about self-esteem, about boosting, about making right choices across everything, because
across the relationship as well.
yes, exactly, especially with relationship, because no man is an island, and your life basically is built on the people around you, the interactions, how you react to them, how you respond to them. Because like I said, you teach people how to treat you, but in doing that, they also learn how to better treat others, how they need to be treated, and so on. So it's like a ripple effect. You might think that you're not, Jessie, can you take? You might think that you're not making an impact, but you might be planting a seed, and later down in life, they might realize, this is how she acted, this is what she did, this is actually good, maybe I should.
That's what she said.
Exactly, that's what she said. So don't concern yourself with, it might not be working right now, but someday a good, the penny can drop, and then it's like, aha, now I understand what they were going on about, what it is that they were saying. So then it starts making sense, and then they also will start changing and so forth. So you are not only touching the children you're working with, but you're touching every relationship in your life. If it is that you are trying to change these things as well within yourself, because it all starts with you. So these are good learning lessons, life lessons for you. Also for me, it's really been amazing mindset change, so to say. It is. So I hope you continue to persevere, because you need to see what the end goal is and what the ultimate value is for the children. So yeah, it might be difficult, but they need it, just like you need it. Because change is not easy, it doesn't happen overnight. It's like my daddy always used to tell me, because I didn't want like maths and I didn't like to study and whatever, and he was like, because I just couldn't get maths or whatever I was busy doing, and he was like, you need to, if you want to break its back, you need to keep working at it. So you keep on and you keep on and you keep on, and one day you'll break it. One day that I'm still waiting, but with other things that happen, and you keep at it and you keep at it, and then suddenly it's like, wow, I finally get it now. Like it all makes sense now. It's like, yeah, okay, this can happen. This is working. Okay, so today we're going to start with session 6, which is goals in sexual and reproductive health. So once again, the main concept is about reproductive health. So in order to make positive sexual choices, you first need to have a positive personal outlook on your life. So when you know what type of goals you have in mind for your life, this will impact the choices that you make, not only for your future, but also sexually and for your sexual health. So everything ties in together. Okay, so there's going to be 3 activities, 18, 19, and 20. Activity 18 is, what are my sexual and health reproductive goals in life? 19, understanding my strengths and weaknesses. 20, personal success page. Okay, so this session is about goal setting, but with a particular focus on sexual and reproductive health, and it will help participants to think about their goals in life and how they relate to reproductive choices. So you must remember, however, that sometimes choices is restricted by situations people find themselves in. So as much as you are guiding them with what to do and how to do it and what to say, can you see? So as much as you are guiding them him with what to do and what to say. As you are experiencing now, it's a different thing when you're in the actual situation. So when they are in the situation, they need to go back to the building blocks of what do I do? How do I think in such a situation? What does it ultimately come down to? It will come down to the basics of what is my main choice that I want to achieve in my life. This will help me decide what I need to choose or how I need to act in this situation. Because you can't give them all the answers for every situation. You are only laying the foundation, the groundwork for them to build on for their lives. And everyone's life choices and life experiences and things is different. So there isn't a set of rules for what you do in this situation, what you do in that. You're just basically laying the fundamentals, and they need to use those key tools to build in whichever situation they are. So always try to remind them, whatever situation they find themselves in, think of what is it that you want for your life? What is the positive choice that you want for your life? And that will help you determine what the choice is in the situation you find yourself in. Because everyone's is going to be different. Does that make sense? Okay. So the expected outcomes is by the end of the session, the participants will have an increased self-awareness, and they will be able to identify their goals, their strengths, and their weaknesses. So remember, the whole thing is self. Building self-esteem, self-awareness, learning what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, because you don't always know what your strengths are or your weaknesses are until you are exposed to them and until you are in a situation that shows it to you. So they need to be learning this through the activities that you are doing, because those activities will give them real life situations where they can see, oh, in such a situation, I'm supposed to think like this. Whereas they're so used to, this is how they must act, but now they can think differently. Now they can think differently about the situation and choose differently in the situation. So through those building blocks and those workshop experiences you are giving them, they can now see, oh, I like this. Oh, I'm strong in this part of my life. Oh, I'm weak in this part. And then they can identify what they actually need help in. So you are helping them to identify what their strengths and weaknesses are. And what their goals are. Because once they know what their strengths and weaknesses are, and that they want to achieve something better, they can make better goals and life choices. Okay, so the time for each session is 90 minutes. Again, the main important thing is to prepare so that things run smoothly. It's important to prepare so that they can know how they need to, so that you can know how you need to react if the children go this way or that way. Spin, and then you like stuck, because now what do I do? And then they're there, and you there, and now you're wasting their time and your time, whereas you could have just, like, I mean, let's look at the situation when we were there. We had to just think on our feet and do something to salvage the situation. So you need to try to do that type of thing, but it's, if you know you are not a person that can think on your feet, like you need to have step by step of how to do it, then prepare for that. Because it's not everybody that can just think on their feet and do something, make something happen out of nothing. You know, not everybody can look at something and say, okay, let me just do this and that and that. You know, and that also comes with time and practice. So maybe in like 10 workshops time, you will learn, you'll be able to do that, because now you are experiencing attitudes, moods, situations, and so forth, and you can now adapt and say, okay, now let me do this and do that. So as you grow and as you learn your strengths, your weakness, your strengths and your abilities will also grow as you are increasing in knowledge and learning for yourself. You'll see you will also grow as a person and your abilities will grow. Okay. Well, I know it's a bit hard to read, but we have to deal with what we have. You know, because there wasn't enough paper, so we just have to deal with it. Okay, so we have to prepare for the session. You have to prepare prior. It's very important, at least an hour before the session. But before that hour, you also need to be preparing. So during the week, you set up what it is you're going to do. And then the hour before the session, you set up what it is you're going to do. So your tools, your flip charts, the writing, the work, the actual activities that you're going to do, that's what you set up the hour before it starts so that things can run smoothly. But the week leading up to that, you need to lay this criteria and foundation of what are you going to do, what should I do if this and that happens. You're going to get all your tools together, your methodology, all of that stuff. Do I need icebreakers? What icebreakers will work for these children? What won't work? Because we've now seen the icebreakers they suggest is not for our people. It's not going to work. So you need to think or come up with something else that might work. So that's all part of the leading up to preparation. Okay, so you have to also read the sessions in your guide to understand what is this actually about. Because these things that you write down is just how to do the workshop. It's not the actual information of what the workshop is about. Yes, I'm talking what it is about, but you need to go back and read through the guide to see what is the focus point of today. What are the positive affirmation sayings that I must tell the children throughout this whole thing? Because you need to equip yourself so that you are not caught unawares as well. Okay? So you need to read sheet 6, which is goal setting. And then you need to prepare 7 sheets of paper. And each of the pages need to have titles on it. Okay? 1, stuck in the past. 2, no specific goals. 3, stuck in habits or thinking that have to be done in a certain way. Giving into personal weaknesses and not building on personal strengths. And you'll find that these are traits that most of us have and do. Because you are now going to help them work through these concepts. Giving in to personal weaknesses and not building on your personal strength. Because remember, it's easy to give up. It's easy to be negative. It's easy to let negativity rule your life and affect you. But it's not easy to go above and beyond the negativity, to rise up, to change, to persevere. It's not easy. Lack of belief in self or belief that you can't change. Any practical problems in the local community, like if someone failed to qualify for a social grant. So you also need to now bring situations in the local community that you know will affect them or that affects them on a daily basis so that they can understand the practical situation of what it is you are trying to say. Then you need to have a blank sheet. So these are the 7 things you are going to write on the different sheets. Okay? Then you need to prepare the flip chart like this for activity 2. And then you need to prepare a story. Also preferably a local community story that they can identify with, right? Of someone who turned their life around and got unstuck. So a positive story of someone they maybe look up to in the community, somebody they maybe know in the community where you can say, this person was on a downward spiral, but then they decided in their mind to get unstuck, to change, to be more positive. And you use that story for for the activity. If you are going to play a game, like what is the message, then prepare small cards or pieces of paper with the letters on them. So again, they guide you as to what activities you should have, but ultimately some are compulsory, some are not. So like the game is not compulsory. So if you don't want to play a game and you have something better in mind, that's up to you, or you don't have time for the game. But if you're going to play the game, you can use what's the message, or you can make your own game, but with the same concept that they are trying to get through. Okay? And the tools you'll need is writing paper, markers, pens, a bottle, flip chart, sticky notes, sticky tapes, and pens. And remember, your tools are as important as your methodology, because if you don't have the stuff at hand, it's not going to work. So you have to prepare that also beforehand. It's very important to cover all your bases. Okay? So the proposed method is a game called Getting Stuck and sharing a story. It is possible career guidance, talks, promotional materials, peer workshops, mentorship from members of the local community, and so forth. If you can get someone in to give them a talk on peer pressure or how they change their lifestyle or something, just to motivate them, to see that what they are doing is not just talk, it's not just what is the life orientation, it's actual real in the community life choices and how it physically and mentally can change you. So getting someone in to talk to them is also going to be of great help, because it will help them to make this whole concept practical and help them to understand the worth of thinking differently, of changing differently, and of choices. Okay? So now you're going to start, once you've prepared, now you're going to start activity 18, which is, what are my sexual health and reproductive goals in life? So the aim is to define an achievable sexual and reproductive goal. That will be 60 minutes, which is really long. Step 1, you do the icebreaker. So you choose your icebreaker, what you think will work for them. And what they suggest is, what's the message? Step 2, and then in your guide, they will explain what this icebreaker is, what's the message. Then step 2, getting stuck is the game. So you have the icebreaker, then you have your game, which will be 25 minutes. And you ask participants to define a goal and write it down in their workbooks. So after you do the game, they need to then identify a goal that they want to achieve or aspire to in their life, and then write it down in their workbooks. So then you will read out the following definition of a goal. A goal is the objective of a person's ambition or effort, an aim or desired result. So basically then you explain, what does that mean? That means it's something you want to do with a better outcome in mind. So you give an example. He achieved his goal of attaining 3 distinctions for matric. So you bring it down to the level and you give, or you ask them off the top of their head, what do they think a goal is? Maybe it's doing well in school. Maybe it's winning whatever race or thing, sports that they are into. Maybe it's becoming a better person, helping other people. Whatever they feel is a goal that they want to aspire to in their life. You make them think about it, and then that is the type of goal that they need to then work towards and try to achieve. Okay, so then you ask them to think about questions, and then quietly for a minute, they must think about it, and then like, what is my goal in life? Before we look at sexual health and reproductive goals, let's look at personal and life goals. often these can affect each other, but let's start with the life goal. So again, you can't make personal, sexual health goals if your life and your life goals is a mess. You can't mentally make a goal if you don't have a personal goal in your life. So if you want to have protected sex, right? You want to have responsible attitude towards sex. Why do you want to do that? Because that explains what your life goal is. So if your life goal is not to have unplanned pregnancy, if your life goal is to finish matric and study further and become something, then that will impact or determine what your sexual reproductive goals are. So the one can't happen without the other. So again, it's your personal choices that matter first that will determine what your reproductive goals are. So this is what you need to try to explain to them, and why self-esteem and all those self-awareness building blocks are important, because that will inform everything else that they're going to do. Okay, so a good life goal would be live life in such a way that I give more than I receive, establish positive things throughout my life that will last longer after I've passed away. So these are just some examples of what it is that they can maybe aspire to. So if they want to show an attitude of giving, being kind, being there for others, that is one goal. If they want to have like, people must remember me when I'm gone. How will people remember you when you're gone? It's by how did you live your life? What impact did you have on people? What, like, even for you, think about someone while you were growing up, or even now in your adulthood. Their attitude and the way they were made an impression on you. Maybe they don't know it, but just how they were impacted you, made you think, and made you want to be better. I have a friend that at first, like, my friend would always tell me things like, I'm my own problem, I cause my own pain, stuff like that. And I would get upset at first, because why are you saying that? You're like being negative, and you're breaking me down and whatever. But when I actually sat and thought about it, it was true, because of what I'm allowing myself to think. That is me causing my own pain, because I'm allowing the negative situation to get to me. I'm allowing the negative situation to dictate my choices, my emotions, my everything. So at the end of the day, it does come down to you and what you decide to think and what you decide to choose for your life. That will determine what your goal is and where you will end up, and all the other decisions in the other areas of your life. Okay, so now you need to ask 7 volunteers to come to the front, and then you stick or pin the 6 labels of the sheets of paper on blank paper to their chest, using pins or whatever is going to work. Right? So you're going to have 7 volunteers, because you must now write down 6 different things on sheets of paper, and the one sheet was blank. So you're going to stick that onto them. So the one is stuck in the past, no specific goals in life, stuck in old habits, thinking that things have to be done a certain way or always been done in a certain way, giving into personal weaknesses and not building on personal strengths, lack of belief in self and belief that you can't change. So these might seem like, if you just read it, they might seem like it's big words, but by now they kind of have an understanding of what these things mean because of the build-up of what you've been explaining to them. And even if they don't, make it as simple worded as possible, where it just has this gist, where even if it's like a 5-word sentence, but it explains what this means. So you try and make it easy for them. Okay, so the 6 practical problems in our communities. Example, family access to social grants. So place the 7th person who has no label at the end of the room and a chair at the other end. The chair at the other end represents the person's goal in life. So here you have your 6 people. The 7th person is in the corner that has a blank, and the chair is in the other corner, and the chair represents the goal. And these 6 things must now all these problems. Okay, so each one has a different problem on them. Then you tell the 7th person to walk across the floor to the chair, which is the goal. So now they have a blank piece of paper on them. They need to walk to their goal. And while doing that, this represents the choice that they want to make of what their goal is. Okay? So the 6 volunteers represent the things that will hinder people in life as they try to walk towards their goal. So all of them must slowly try to walk towards their goal, which is the chair. Okay? But each one's problem statement is a hindrance. So it's problems that is going to prevent them from getting to the chair. Whereas the 7th person might be easier because they don't have hindrances, they don't have these problems. So it's easier to get to their goal. So this is how they need to see that problems and hindrances and things in life will stop you or retard your perseverance towards your goal. But what are they going to do about it? Are they going to let those things, these problems, stop them? Or are they going to try and overcome those problems? So that's the whole process and thought behind this activity. Okay? So the 6 people need to create a reason to prevent the 7th from making it across to the chair. Make sure that they aren't too rough with anyone, and it's just an illustration to show that obstacles keep us from reaching our goals. And the conclusion is that your goal could be having a great life. Your goal could be having a great life in which you have kids only when and if you want, where you stay in an HIV negative situation. If the life that you are, if the life that you have obstructs, it's really set in the way of reaching a goal. The 6 can keep the labels on for the next one. Okay, so basically, what this is saying is that the 6 problem statements must now, because the person with the 7th with a blank sheet, it's easy to reach the goal because they don't have hindrances. Now these 6 must try and stop that person physically from getting to the goal, either by knocking them or just standing in their way or putting another chair or whatever they think they can do, but it mustn't be rough, right? Nobody must get rough. So they need to try and make these obstacles in the path of the 7th person getting towards the chair, because this will represent the issues in life and how they need to make their positive choices. And then the 7th person needs to persevere and not let those 6 problems stop them from reaching the goal. Because that's what happens in life. We allow the problems in our life, whether we use it as excuses or we allow it to affect us, we do allow these problems to stop us from getting to our goal. Yes, it retards. Yes, it might cause serious issues along the way. Yes, it might make the time frame of us getting to our goal much longer. But the point is, are we still going to persevere towards getting to our goal, or are we going to allow these hindrances to stop us? So it's all a personal choice. It's like, did you allow the petrol situation to stop you from coming today? Exactly. Okay, so now we're going to move to step 3. This is the getting unstuck part. So this activity will take 15 minutes. Now you ask each of the 6 people to become a group leader with 4 others and find a spot to sit and discuss the statement written in his or her labeling by answering, how does the statement work to get us stuck and keep us trapped? And how can we break free? So allow time for discussion, then feedback, and you can share what is in the table below if it was not brought up from the groups. So after they now did that exercise and the 7th person finally got to the goal, right? They need to now break up into groups of 4 if you have enough people. But the 6 people each need to have a little group. And then each group will discuss what that person's problem statement is in terms of how did the statement work to keep you stuck and keep you trapped, and how can you break free. So you're looking at the problem and how it traps you, but then you need to look at the solution of how to get out of it, because this will let you get to your goal. See, they need to see how the one ties into the other. How, yes, life's problems come and stop you and trap you, but what are you going to do about it? How can you overcome? Okay, so they need to discuss that. And then they need to bring the answers back to the big group, right? So, depending on the answers, that will determine what you read now. So you can either read these if they haven't said it, or you can add it to what they said, or if they did say it, then you just skip that. But the point is for them to understand what is a hindrance and a problem, and what does it mean, but how can you overcome it. But they need to realize that they must think of ways to overcome it, because that is physically them making life choices. Okay? So the hindering factor, the one is stuck in the past. Sometimes things happen and people are so traumatized that they can't get over it. And this is a main thing, because lots of people's choices, lots of people's attitudes, lots of people, how they handle things, their goals in life, are all built around the trauma they have been through. Or they allow the trauma to define what their life choices are, or they stop going for what their life choices are because of the trauma. Now they need to realize, are they going to allow the situations, and it's emotional and it's painful, are they going to allow that trauma to stop them, or are they going to try to move forward? Like, for example, if a girl was raped, it's very traumatic, especially if she was raped at a young age. That will determine her choices and her goals and the rest of her life, basically. She can allow it to stop her, or she can allow it to build her. So you always see these motivational people, a lot of them went through terrible trauma. Like they were gang raped, or they were child bride, or stuff like that. But then they decided they're not going to live like this. They're not going to allow the trauma to get to them. And they're going to rise above, and they're going to become an activist, and they're going to speak out for women abuse, gender-based violence, teenage pregnancies, teenage rape, teenage marriages, these types of things, depending on what it is their trauma was. And these people become motivators for others who have been through the same experience. So again, you can choose to rise above your situation and let it make you better and help others, or you can choose to let it break you down and you just stay stuck. So these are the types of things that you need to explain to them, what each hindering factor means in their life and what are they going to choose about it. So the next one is when you have no specific goals, and a lot of this happens with young people. They are apathetic, especially if they don't see any future in life. Like, what is the point of having goals when this is just how my life is? I can't rise above it. We have no money. Life is it just is the way it is. So I'm just going to accept it. So when people can't decide for themselves, or don't have any ambition, or don't want to better themselves by going after something that builds them up, they need to understand that this is what having no goals means. And having the attitude of having no goals will leave you in the situation you're in. If you don't aspire to become better, to rise above your situation, then you're going to stay there. Then it's going to stay terrible. Then you're going to not have anything and not go anywhere because you're not ambitious. You don't have that want or the drive to rise above and do better. So if they didn't discuss this in their groups, you then run through it. If they did discuss it, you just expand on that and explain more. Because a lot of these points will maybe touch on the things that they have said, but because they are young and whatever, it won't be as detailed, or they haven't grasped it fully, then you just explain in further detail. Okay? Stuck in old habits or thinkings that things have to be done a certain way. Most people don't like change and they feel they have made ineffective decisions. So this also happens with a lot of people. They say it's always been this way and I'm too old to change, or why must I change the way I think? This is how I've always done things. I don't know any better, that type of thing. And that is also a hindrance because anybody can change at any time. It's never too late. Don't allow your old way of thinking, your old habits, scar you or mar you. It's like your brain can unlearn things and relearn new patterns. That is how addiction happens. They say it takes 21 days to break your addiction. And how do you do that? By creating new neural pathways to not think that way. So if you keep on thinking, I'm hopeless, I can't do this, blah, 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 your mind's going to constantly say that to itself and believe it and believe it. It's like there's a patch of grass and you walk over it, you make a path, and every day you walk over that path will become deeper and deeper and deeper until it's very defined. But if you decide to walk a different way, and a different way tomorrow, and a different way the next day, those pathways can't be defined. So if you now, instead of just going down the same pathway over the grass, you're now going to try a different way. It's the same in your mind. If you're going to break the cycle of thinking, oh, I'm hopeless, I can't do this, instead try to change your thought into, I can do this. I'm going to try a different way that works for me. And every day you say the positive thing. Your mind will stop going over the old pathway of I can't do this, but now it will start making a new pathway of I can do this. And so that is how you unlearn old thoughts and habits and break addictions and stuff like that. It's all in the mind, and the mind is an amazing thing, but you have to want to. You have to do self-talk. You have to make yourself think differently. And you have to explain that to them. the situation isn't just the situation. It's how they allow it to affect them and how they allow themselves to think about the situation. And the same with us as adults. We are so used to, this is the way, this is how I always do things, this is how I am. But if you want to be a better person, you can. You can change those old habits. You can change the way of thinking. For example, with your children, you're so used to screaming at them, they must do this, they must do that, but now you want to be a different person. You want to have more positive influence because maybe they don't respond to the shouting anymore. So let me try a different way of encouraging them to do what I need them to do. So now, yes, eat them. Or let's talk about this. You know, could you maybe try to do it this way because it will help me a lot. It will help our home situation run more smoothly. You know, speak sense into them as to why you want them to do it. It will help them become better people by working harder, being more positive and so forth, so that they can reason and understand and see why, instead of just, you're just shouting at them the whole time and they think, you know. But now they're looking at it a different way. So it's about changing those neural pathways and looking at it differently. This is the type of thing you need to explain to them. They can overcome, they can see things differently, they can make different choices. They don't have to walk the same path. They can make a different path in the grass. Okay, so now you're going to let them reflect. It's 12 o'clock, I think we're going to stop there. So now you're going to make them reflect on what you discussed before you move on to the next part. Because that is a lot already. So they need to now try and rethink, look at things a little differently before they can absorb more. Okay, so first reflect, make them write in their workbooks, what did they think about those concepts? Do they think they can maybe try and change the way they think, or relook things, or not allow the way things have always been to determine how they think or look at a situation? Because it really is mind over matter. It really is positivity wins, but they need to want to change or make the positive choice or see things differently. Also, some people, that is all they know of how life is. But when you're introducing a different way of life, a different way of thinking, other options, they see that that isn't the only way it needs to be. There is hope. There is something different that can come out of my life situation. I can make a change and a difference in my life situation. Like you hear these stories of children that lived in the rural areas, had no shoes, had to walk for 5 kilometers to school without food and walk back and whatever. But some of them became great. They made great choices for their life. And yet they had the same situation that the person next to them had. They all had to walk 5 kilometers to school with no food, no whatever. Did that person become great? No. Because they didn't choose to. But the other one made a choice in that they're not going to let their circumstances keep them down. They're going to try. They're going to become better. They're going to keep at it and do and do and do. So they need to see. You can even use Benny McCarthy also. I mean, he came from Bonteheuwel or whatever, and it was a terrible living in the flats and all of that stuff, terrible situation. But he decided to work on his talent, to work hard, to rise above, and now he's a coach in England, Manchester, or wherever. One of those, I don't know, I'm not a sports person, but I just mean that He's now like,
You come from nowhere.
exactly, you can come from nowhere and become something. So it is possible. It's about your mindset and your choices. And they need to understand that they don't need to stay in the situation that they find themselves in. They can pursue a different path. Okay. And you as well. This doesn't need to just be your life. You can pursue better. You can choose better. You can attain better if you want to. So it's all up to you and the choices that you make. And they need to see that. Okay, any question? Thank you for coming.